Welcome everyone to Sweet Tea Time. My name is Regina Stiles.
I'm Randy Saunders too, and we're the host of
It's Sweet Tea Time. And we are going to go ahead and take our first cheers of the day. Cheers. We have a very, and I mean very special guest today. She's coming to us all the way from El Paso, Texas. She is a former Empress of the Imperial Court of San Diego and legendary entertainer and community activist. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and the only, the lovely FiFi. Well, hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you for having me on. What a great honor.
Thank you. We are
I'm a big
so
fan
happy.
of the show.
Yes, we are so happy that we finally got you to put on a mug, throw on some hair, and join us, girl.
And honey, you look fabulous. You was thanks for the back row, honey.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Randy. I love you. Thank you so much. I haven't painted my face since coronation when Gigi stepped up, so it's been a while.
That's a long time, big girl.
Yeah, that's a different show.
Right, a whole different show. So before we get started with our show, I just want to go ahead and throw out some hellos to some of the people that are on our line. Hello, Mario, Dana, Donnie Vella, Joey, all the way from Texas.
Hi, Joey.
Hera is watching. Our friend Rhonda. Mo was on. I don't know if he's still here, but he was on. So, but those are all the people, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that we say hello. Erica just came on.
Hello, your match.
So, and she's in Texas too, as we know it, and she will be here this week.
Will she?
Mm-hmm. She's coming into San Diego this week.
Right.
But yeah, let's go ahead and get this rolling and started. We have a while to go, so we're going to go ahead and start with you telling us where you were born and raised.
I was born right here in lovely El Paso, Texas, a long time ago. I don't even mind telling you, I'll be 59 actually in August. So it's been quite a while. But I was born here in El Paso, Texas, and I lived here most of my life. I did a short period of time in Austin, and I spent 22 years in San Diego.
Nice. And as everyone knows, we're definitely going to get to all that. So,
right.
You grew up in a house of yourself and two other siblings.
That's correct.
And two sisters.
Yes, two sisters. One younger, who's gay also, and married. Yes, and an older sister. We're both 4 years apart. She's 4 years younger, and my older sister's 4 years older.
Cool. So, girl, when you start liking men, the same sex, honey?
What's that?
When you start liking the same sex, when did you start liking boys, honey?
About 3 hours after I got out of the hospital when I was born.
You was born gay, honey.
I didn't want to shock anybody in the operating room, so I held it back for a while. But, yeah, honey, I have known all my life. Look at me.
Well, I know one of the things that we talked about was you are what we like to call a gold star gay.
Yes, honey.
Yes, indeed. I told Regina a funny story that one day we were hanging out at Big Mike's bar at Rich's, and it was a group of us, Russell Roy Bell, and I can't remember who else, but Russell was there. And we were all going around the circle, and we were saying, have you ever gone out with a girl? Have you ever laid with a girl? And, and I love girls. Trust me, look at me. I love imitating girls, but girl, closest I've ever been was gas lit out of one. So I am a gold star gay. I never.
Really? So basically, you was a little one. Your dad, you was a feminine little queen, right?
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah, you can call me a sissy, Miss Jada.
Well, feminine, honey, feminine.
Well, you being the young, effeminate young boy that you were, I can guarantee that you definitely were not out playing baseball and football with the boys.
Cheerleader.
No.
Why don't you
we talked about
what you're doing?
we talked about this. Right next door, outside this window right here that's next to me, there used to be a family, the Turners, and Bonnie and Roberta used to have a doll collection. And they had one of those Barbies that was like a head. It's like a head, and then it had a tray. And in that tray, it had like berets and bobby pins and bows and ribbons and makeup. And while all the boys were outside playing football and baseball in the street, kickball and what have you, I was doing hair next door at Bonnie and Roberta's on those dolls. And the other thing I told her is that while they were playing those games too, I was fascinated by parades, like totally fascinated by parades. And I used to build floats out of shoe boxes. I know nobody's gonna get it. But I used to decorate the shoe boxes like they were floats in the parade and push them around. And my parents would like, girl, something's wrong with our child. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why you probably decided you wanted to become a drag queen because you used to paint all the little Barbies, huh? You used to paint on them.
Oh, girl. I had the most elegant Barbies. Trust me.
So
All them.
no, go ahead.
All the rest of the queens, all the rest of the little girls had their little cotton dresses on their Barbies, and I had sequin dresses on my Barbies.
Oh my!
Fringe outfits and all of that stuff. Mine were always showgirls.
Oh, right. No, that's right.
Right. So, I remember one of the things that we talked about being an effeminate little boy, and you did tell me that you had long hair. So,
I did.
One of the things that I asked you about, did you get picked on in school because of being an effeminate, looking kind of like a girl but was a boy? And you tell me the story of what you did, and what your hobby was to make yourself popular.
Well, I had to figure out, because of the fact that I was effeminate and I was picked on, I had to figure out a way to divert that negative energy. And so I did a couple of things. I was pretty funny. I was always joking with everybody and making fun of things. I also collected music. I was a huge record buff. In fact, we just cleaned the garage recently, and I found all my old records. But and I used to DJ at all the parties. So everybody wanted to be on my good side, so I would DJ at their party. And the third thing that I did is I always hung around with the pretty girls, all the cheerleaders and all the hot girls. Because if the hot boys wanted to get to the hot girls, they had to come through me.
I know that's
how being the ringleader, bitch.
Yes.
That's right, honey. I was the school pimp.
The school pimp.
I know that's right.
And I didn't even know it.
Funny. So why don't we go ahead and talk about, so when did you, I know it was probably an open thing back when you were in school, but when did you actually come out as gay?
I guess it was I came out, how do you say this? It was always a given at home. It was just an unspoken given, Everybody knew except me. And at school, like in high school, I started being a little bit more open. You got to remember that when I was growing up, the drinking age was 18. So there was a gay bar here, and they were a little lenient on letting people in. So I started going to the bars at 16. So I was pretty open my junior and senior year. It was no secret. So coming out, I would say high school, like full on, I'm gay. Careful if you drink too much around me, because I'll get in those pants. But yeah, I guess high school is when it was like, all right, enough of this nonsense. Let's just do it.
So after you started going to the bars and everything like that. So in our interview, you said you had your first job. Can you tell us about what your first job working at Starbucks? How was that like?
Starbucks, girl.
I mean, not Starbucks. I am so
Girl,
sorry.
you better stop her drinking right now, Regina.
I meant to say Baskin Robbins. My bad.
My first job was at a Baskin Robbins. I used to be in a program in high school, and it was called HECE, Home Economics Cooperative Education. And I had achieved in credits to where I could go to school half day and then go to work half day. And so I landed this job at 31 Flavors. And I started as a scooper, like everybody else. And um, like always, I wanted to learn everything, and I did. And so I started learning how to make cakes, and then I learned how to order, and before I knew it, I was managing the store. And then the owner got another store, and I started managing that store for him, which consequently was the first drive-through store, was a test store. And it was the first drive-through in America for a Baskin Robbins. And I started managing that one. And I worked all through my senior year there, and continued to work there after I graduated from high school. It was my first. It was like my first real job where I got a check.
That taxable job, girl.
Taxable job, yeah. Like I'd worked, but that was the first one where you got a check every 2 weeks, and they took taxes out and all that.
Back then, what was the minimum wage back then? Working at
Oh my God. It was 2 rocks and a peanut. I don't know, girl. It was really low. And a tub of ice cream or something like that. Yeah, it was not very much. But you got to remember, the cost of living where here in El Paso, even now is low compared to, like I don't know what a 2-bedroom goes for in San Diego anymore. I've been away for a while, but you can still get a 2-bedroom apartment here, 2-bedroom, 1 bath for like $700.
Oh, we're moving to Texas. Yes. We're moving to Texas, honey. Bye, Mark.
No, so one of the things I remember you telling me is as you got this job and all this time that you started saving up money because the one thing that you wanted to do was finally get out of the house and be on your own. So you moved out on graduation day.
Yeah, I sure did. I got the hell out of Dodge. I was done. You're right, I was saving money. I started saving money because it was just time. It was time for me to be myself and, hang around with people that were like me and do the things I wanted to do. And that wasn't happening here at home. And so I decided that I was going to leave. And my exit was graduation day. I mean, like I went from the event center where we had graduation, and then we came here and had dinner, and my friends, we were all the family was in the den, and my friends were moving my stuff out the front door while the party was going on in the back. It was serious, girl. I wanted out. And all I remember is my dad telling me, you need to be home by 1 o'clock. And I was like, okay, sure. Girl, I didn't come back at all.
So you left Baskin Robbins and started your first job at the only gay bar that was in El Paso.
It was the only gay dance bar. Yeah, the big dance bar. There was other bars. There was other bars, but this was like the primary. It was like it was like the Riches, of El Paso. And I started as a waiter. I waited tables, and it was cool like during the week, but the weekends, honey, you had to be a buttered snake to get through that crowd because it was packed all the time. It was crazy packed because it was the only place in town, and it was the only place in town for us, for our kind of people. And not to mention, we had the best DJ and we had the best light show, and it was the biggest bar in town. So all the straights would come there too, to come party and dance. It was the best music ever.
Cool. So can you tell us when did your drag career first started?
It started at that bar in 1980. So I'm celebrating. This October will be 40 years of doing female impersonation for me.
What made you want to become a drag queen? Is it something that you see other drag queens that you saw performing? It's like, oh, I want to be like them. It was like, yeah.
I started in, I'd gone on New Year's Eve, um, the year before I started, and there was this drag queen. Her name was Carmen Del Rio, and she used to do Donna Summer, and there was rumors that she was on the Las Vegas Strip as one of the showgirls, and she used to do these really elaborate showgirl costumes. But she was a dead ringer for Donna Summer, and that bitch could dance, honey. And I saw her, and I was like, that's what I want to do.
Oh no, that's right.
Yeah, I want to do that.
That's what we're talking about. I'm going to go ahead and pop a picture up on the screen, and to show everyone, let's see how it started. So here we go.
Yeah, that's baby FiFi. That's in the that's in the dressing room at the old plantation. And in that picture, I think that one's cropped, but the show director Rosa is in that picture. It was a woman that was a show director there, and I remember that night pretty vividly. Victoria West, who's Texas Size Barbie, she was in the show with me that night. But yeah, that's FiFi.
Yeah. Good then, just like you do now.
Fish. All these queens buying all them fake tits, and all that was duct tape from Home Depot, honey.
So why don't we talk about how you got your name FiFi?
Well, back in the old days, when I mean old days, 40 years ago, the queens used to name you. You kind of had to belong to get on the stage. And so there was a queen here, her name was Henry Lewis. And I had never worn high heels until the day that I did my first show at the rehearsal. And those shoes were given to me by this queen named Moella Bowie. And I was rehearsing, and Rosa, the show director, and Henry were friends. And when I was rehearsing, after I finished, she goes, "Girl, for a big queen, you sure are light on your feet." That's when I could dance. And she named me FiFi, and it stuck. Rosa called me FiFi that night in the show, and it stuck. And Moella told me, "FiFi, that's like French. So we're gonna name you FiFi LaRue from the Moulin Rouge." And it just stayed that way. 40 years later, it's still FiFi.
Wow. Well, that's how names are kept.
Well, and it's easy to spell when you're drunk.
So, well, we're doing a pre-interview with you. You were telling us about your first time entering your first Miss Old Paso, Texas.
No, it's Miss Old Plantation.
Miss Old Plantation. Okay, Miss Old Plantation.
Yeah. I did real good in my very first show. I made a bundle of money in tips. And I thought I was everything, so I decided to run for Miss OP. Wrong. I was put together. I was totally put together for my first show. Somebody did my makeup, somebody did my hair, somebody did my costumes, and I thought, I can fucking pull this off, and it didn't work like that. And so I ran in that contest, and I didn't win. I didn't even come close to winning. I didn't even make the top 5 or something like that. But the people that were kind of teaching me drag, we all became friends. It was a real close circle of friends. It was Carlos, Jeff, Gus, Eddie, and myself. And we decided that we were gonna kind of form a pact. We were all good at something. Carlos was a designer. Gus was a seamstress. Jeff did hair and makeup. Eddie was the bartender, and that served a purpose for reals, because we would stay up all night, and we would decide every year. Okay, this year it's going to be you, and then everybody would focus in on that person, and we would get them ready for the contest, and they'd win, and that's the way we did it. And so the first year it was Eddie, and the second year it was myself. And so I waited a year 2 years, I guess, before I ran for a contest again. And that was the last time that I entered a contest that I didn't win.
Girl, she had it together, honey.
Exactly.
Yeah, I learned real quick what it takes. You know, it's a lot of work, especially when you're working against queens that are hungry and talented and know their business. So you had to be on top of your game.
Mhm.
Now, you like you just said, you had after that, basically everything you ran for, you won, and then things started getting old to you, and you decided I'm going to move on to bigger and better things, and you moved to Austin.
Girl, what made you do that? What made
I
you?
moved to Austin for all the wrong reasons.
Oh,
I moved to Austin. I moved to Austin because there were more clubs. I moved to Austin because the girls had moved there, and I thought that I should be there too. I moved to Austin with no job, and I moved to Austin, and all I did was party. And it was very short-lived. I lived there maybe like 3 or 4 months, and came back home. But I came back home. I came back home, and I knew what I had done wrong. You know, some people don't learn when they go somewhere and they do something wrong. They don't learn from it. They just kind of keep repeating it. I knew exactly what I had done wrong, and I came back and I thought, the next time I leave, it's for reals. So I learned from that experience.
So you came back to once you worked there, you know, came back to El Paso, and then
Yeah.
you went into fine dining. Can you explain that to us, girl? How did you end up going to fine dining?
I started working at a fine dining restaurant called Billy Cruz. It was an upscale steakhouse with a phenomenal wine list, and I stayed there for a long, long time. I was the bartender in the bar, and I had it made. It was great. And then I eventually moved into the hotel business and started working for Westin Hotels. And again, the overachiever in me, I worked my way from the bottom to the top. I started as a waiter. I became a bartender, and then a beverage captain, and then a banquet captain, and then a banquet assistant manager, and then I eventually took over the fine dining room and the fine dining room, the bar, which is still a historic bar. The building was built in 1913, and I took over a discotheque that they had there, and I stayed there for a pretty long time. 7 or 8 years. Yeah.
So why don't we talk about you and the decision to move to San Diego?
Well, it's kind of tied into that time that I was at the hotel. I moved quickly, and anybody in the hospitality industry knows that when you move in a hotel, it's because you're good, and you're good because of availability. And I had super, super burnout. I was working 14, 18-hour days, nonstop. I've always been salaried, so it doesn't matter how many hours you work, you know how that goes. And it was just time. I reached the highest point that I was going to get there. The next one would be an executive, and there was nobody from the executive committee going anywhere. So I thought, it's time to go. And it was also because of the fact that a friend of mine, my best friend Carlos, one of those 5 that I told you that we used to get together and back each other up. Carlos passed away from AIDS, and I was having a conversation with my mother because we had the wake over at my house after everybody had left, and she told me, she said, "You've been to more funerals as a young man than I have as an old woman, and it's kind of crazy." She says, "You should go. You should go. I know you want to go. You should go." So that was my decision to get up and move out of El Paso again. And this time I was ready.
All right, so we have gotten to the part where you moved to San Diego. We are going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more of the fabulous FiFi.
Today I'm making fajitas for the family, old El Paso style. The smoky barbecue blend brings flavors together in perfect harmony, like family coming together and pretending nobody threw anyone off the balcony. All the slicing and cutting, it makes me feel at peace. It takes the right dish to get the family together, so make the most of it. Because as we say in old El Paso, together is bueno.
All right, everybody, welcome. All right, everybody, we just want to remind you, Randy and I would like to remind you that if you are enjoying what you're seeing, please, at the bottom of the screen, you can see that you can donate to the Imperial Court of San Diego at imperialcourtsandiego.com. We are now going to go ahead
And be $1, $5, whatever's in your heart.
Exactly. So now we're going to go ahead and bring back our very special guest. Please welcome back the one and the only, the fabulous FiFi.
All right with the old Paso commercial.
We had to decide. We decided to throw that in to represent you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna be happy. Did you see that big old drag queen?
So, oh, okay. I'm looking at our live feed, and we have Jigs came in.
Hi, Jigs.
A couple of other people from out of town.
Lisa's in there too.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa, Devil and Angels is here. Erica's still in the room. Everything. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get started with our second segment here, and go ahead and talk about. So you made the decision after one of your really close friends, Carlos, passed away, to move to San Diego. What happened once you got here?
Well, I kind of lied to everybody here in town because I didn't want anybody to discourage me. I told everybody that I had a job and that everything was lined up, and I even told my family that. When I got there, I just had the money in my pocket. I'd moved there with somebody who I used to know back then, and my first job, do you want me to say that already? My first job was cleaning a bed and breakfast. And so I met this girl, Elena, and she owned a bed and breakfast that was left to her by her brother, who consequently had died, also passed, and left her this business. And I went to go visit her one day through a mutual friend, and I noticed that the place was kind of dingy. You know, it was beautiful, but she needed help, and I offered to help her clean, and I did. That's what I did. I cleaned the house, and then she saw that I was doing all right, and she gave me more responsibilities, and I would check people in and clean the pool and set up coffee in the morning and do stuff like that. So until I could find a job, and so my first job was a housekeeper at this bed and breakfast. And one night I got dolled up in drag, and I went to the Brass Rail on a Monday night because they told me that was the place that did the shows, and the show was called The Dream Girls.
Oh.
And that show included Erica, Bianca, Hollywood. At that time it was Hollywood, but you all know him as Hunter. And Marilyn,
Shit.
Nicole.
Oh, I said that all.
And
well, since you're talking about that, let me go ahead and throw this up there.
That's them. That's all of them. That was my family when I first got there, and so I got in a beaded gown and these earrings, these flawless earrings, and I went in and sat down at the bar, and Nicole was was there. She stood in that spot and watched the show. And she very slyly turned around and her eyebrow went up like one of the golden arches at McDonald's.
All right. But
She
you
gave me
know,
one of those. She said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm FiFi." And she goes, "Are those Dragon Lady earrings?" Hi, my sister just walked in. Y'all want to say hi to my sister? Look, these are the earrings. I was wearing these earrings. And she said, "Are those Dragon Lady earrings?" And I said, "Yeah, they are." And she goes, "Are you from Texas?" And I said, "Yes, I am. And I want to do the show." And she said, "Okay, well, we have rehearsals on Monday. And you can come to the rehearsal on Monday and do an audition." And I said, "Okay, do I need to be painted up in drag?" And she said, "Nope, just show up on Monday." So I did. And I wore a t-shirt and some shorts and some flip-flops, and I went to the rehearsal. Hold on, because I got a special guest. Look, my sister's here. Remember her, Regina?
Hi, how are you?
Her, Wendy.
Yes, how are you?
Good. How are you?
It's a pleasure meeting
Thank
you.
thank you for coming into our home.
Yes. Virtually, right?
Yes, virtually.
Yes. And getting my brother motivated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
So that's the way I met Nicole. And I went to that rehearsal. Do you want me to tell you what happened?
Sure.
Spill the tea, honey. That's why you're spill the tea, honey.
So I went to the rehearsal on Monday, and of course she had told me not to get in drag and not to bring music or anything. And so I sat there while they rehearsed their Dreamgirls number and everybody did their little thing. And then she said, "Okay, girl, it's your turn. Get up on stage." And I was like, "What?" And she says, "Get up on stage. What number do you know?" And I was like, and she goes, "Do you know And I Am Telling You by Jennifer Holliday from Dreamgirls?" And I said, "Yes." And she told Phil, who was upstairs in the DJ booth, she said, "Turn that And I Am Telling You on." You know, Nicole, no please, no thank you, just do it. And so Phil turned it on, and I, so to speak, lip sync for my life.
All right, you did the thing, honey.
And she gave me the job.
Yes.
So how long did you, once you made the Dream Girl? Oh, actually, there's a continuing part of that story. When were you supposed to start?
So that was on a Monday, and she told me I needed to start the following Monday. And this was I moved to San Diego October the 1st. So this was like mid-October or mid to late October. So when I left, I came back to the show that night to see the show, and that following Wednesday, I got a phone call that my mother had a heart attack, and things didn't look good. And so I left. I left San Diego, and I came home. Consequently, my mom passed away. She died on the 27th of October, and I called Nicole and I told her what was going on, and she told me not to worry. She said that family came first, and that when I got back to give her a call. And I thought for sure I'd blown it, like that was it. Like, who's gonna wait? Like, I was nobody to her. And we buried my mom on October the 31st, and I got back on the 1st of November, and I called and I told her I was in town, and she says, "Come to the show." And that's when I started.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was amazing, an amazing thing for me because, like I said, nobody knew who I was. She didn't know who I was, and all she knew was that fat kid on the stage that was, rehearsing in shorts and a t-shirt. She had no idea she saw me in a bar, sitting next to her in drag. I guess I guess I looked all right. I don't know. Maybe it was maybe it was these that got me. That's why we say it was the Dragon Lady earrings that got me the job.
Right. Real quick before we ask you your next question, on my feed here, Jigs said when you moved to town, all hell broke loose. And she says she still remembers your beautiful place on 30th Street.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I
And
used to host.
yeah, and your lovely collection of blue vases.
Blue glass.
Blue glass.
And I still have blue glass. I gave a lot of it away when I moved from San Diego because I had a lot.
Yeah, I remember.
I still collect cobalt glass, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something about Jigs. Jigs was always a stand-up human being with me. Always told me the truth, always was honest, always was loving. And I really, really have the utmost of respect for Jigs. She's always been good to me, always.
Well, that's awesome.
You heard that, Jig? So how long were you at the bed and breakfast for?
I was only at the bed and breakfast probably a couple of months. Because while I was with the Dream Girls, in that period of time where I was looking for work, I had registered at a place called the Hospitality Recruitment Center, which was on First Avenue downtown, and they were the ones that were recruiting for the new Hyatt that was going to open.
Okay.
And what happened was the day that my sister called and told me that my mom had a heart attack was the day that we were supposed to go down to the hiring center for the Hyatt. And I had a friend named Judy Robbins, and she lived in Coronado. And she was from here and had moved there. And she and I were going together to go turn in our applications and stand in the line. They had something like 2,000 applicants for like 800 jobs.
Ooh.
And I called her and I told her, listen, Judy, my mom had a heart attack. I can't go. I'm going home. And she says, I get it. I totally get it. I said, I want you to do me a favor. I'm going to take my application to the doorway of my apartment complex. Will you pick it up and at least just drop it off? Maybe. I don't know. By some strange reason, they'll catch it. And she did that for me. And that day that I got back on November the 1st, the phone was ringing in the apartment. By the way, I lived right next door to Chris and Emperor and Empress. What was Carlos?
Mm-hmm.
Carlos. They lived right next door to me on Georgia. The phone was ringing and I picked it up, and it was the Hyatt Regency, and they were calling me back and they were saying, "We saw your application and you did really good on your first interview. We want to see you again." And I was like, and I wasn't about to tell them that I hadn't interviewed at all. So I said, oh, okay, sure. Where do I go? And they said, the same place that you went the first time. And I was like, and I said, okay. I said, guess what? I'm brand new to the city. I just moved here. I said, could you give me that address again? And
You like that part, right, honey?
girl, I was sweating it. I was like, well, how the hell am I going to pull this one off? And they gave me the address again. And I went down there and I got the job.
Yay, work, girl, work.
So I was working at the Hyatt and at Dream Girls at the same time. I was a waiter. Again, started at the bottom, moved all the way to the top. I started as a waiter there, and then I became the morning captain, and I was at the Hyatt for almost 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you went from being part of the Dream Girls from about 92 to about 95.
Correct.
But then after that, you went straight solo and stopped the Dream Girls and worked only at the Hyatt.
I did. Yes, but I couldn't get rid of my love for drag, so I kind of got in where I could, and the place that really accepted me and would let me work at my pace or when I was available was Harry. at the Escape. It was a show called The Follies.
Oh, okay.
And Melissa Stratman was in it, and Audacity, I think was, no, not Audacity. Melissa Stratman, Lola, Princess Royale Lola was in it. Norma was in it. And so I went to go work at the Follies, at the Escape, which was at the old Babette Schwartz when she was on university.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And then
now-
they moved around. Then they moved around the corner and they opened a bar called Tidbits because of the Escape. The Escape went out of business. That's when Babette Schwartz went in there, and Tidbits came around the corner where the bookstore is in the middle of Fifth Avenue, like right there between University and Robinson.
Right.
And that became the Escape, and I think that's where you and I met, Regina.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah.
So FiFi,
Regina was just a little. She was a baby.
Looking through the window.
okay. So
Yeah.
FiFi, can you explain to us how did you join the Imperial Court?
Well, I didn't join the Imperial Court. I was hustled into it. So when I got the gig with the Dream Girls, and everything was good, you're either in or you're out with Nicole, and that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. But she started introducing me as, "Hi, this is FiFi. She's going to be an empress." And so little by little, I started seeing the shows. And when I became a Dream Girl, they started inviting me to do like the benefits, like for Mama's Kitchen, all of those things. And I started meeting all of those people, and I got involved that way. And little by little, I got more and more and more and more involved.
Same here.
The year before I won is when I really joined and got serious.
Mm-hmm.
And that was during Roxy and Noel's reign, correct?
Noel was the emperor and Roxy was the empress.
Right.
That's when I.
Go ahead.
That's when I joined.
Oh, real quick before we go on, I saw that Johnny Glenn just came on. We just want to wish him a happy birthday.
Yes.
So you joined the court, well, saw the court, joined the court in around 96, went through the whole year, and then now, did you choose to run for Empress, or did they talk you into running for Empress?
Spill the tea.
Okay. You want the truth, or you want to lie?
Spill the tea, guys. Spill the tea, honey.
So, remember the story that I told you that I had been in every contest? After I lost the first one, every contest after that, I had won. So I don't know why, but I wanted to see if I could win again. And I decided that I wanted to run for Empress to see if I could win again. That, I don't know why. I mean, like, the intentions were good, of course, because I knew what the organization did, but I wanted to know if I could win a contest again. And I did it not knowing very many people. Like, I knew people, but not like everybody that I was supposed to know. And I really sunk my heart into it when I ran. I really wanted to win. I wanted to do it on my own because I knew that this wasn't like other contests where you go in and you wear your evening gown and you wear your sportswear and you do your number and that's it. This one was going to be judged by votes. And I wanted to know if I could pull that off. And I obviously did.
And I have to remember to say this. Now, I know this is something that Randy doesn't really know or can't touch on, but I can. This was my very first coronation.
It was.
My first coronation was the stepping down of Roxy and Noel, and then you eventually becoming Empress. And I took a lot of pictures that night.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite pictures, one of many that I took, was you doing your production number. So I am going to pop that picture up.
All right.
And of your production.
I painted I painted all of that background. I took all of the foam core pieces that were left at the Hyatt, from like conventions, and I painted all of that background set, and I also helped bead that dress.
All right, bro. I'm loving that hairdo, honey. You're giving me
There's a
life.
funny story. There is a fun. I found that hair. The designer, the hair designer is Guy Lebrecq, and he's from Vancouver, British Columbia. And I met him when I went to Judy Jive's coronation. And he had that same identical wig in white. And when I saw that wig, I was like, I have to have that wig from fucking coronation. And I started talking to this kid, and he looked at me like, girl, do you know how much that wig costs? And I was like, I'm not interested in that. Now, when I got to Vancouver, I was working for the Hyatt, remember? And when I got to the Hyatt, they had a mix-up, and they didn't give me a regular room. They gave me the presidential suite.
Yeah.
We had a mix-up. So when this kid started giving me all this gruff about not being able to do my wig, and I said, if you change your mind, you can contact me, and I'm at the presidential suite at the Hyatt Regency, Vancouver. And when I said that, girl, I got the wig. He agreed to do my wig when I told him that. I guess he thought I was somebody with a lot of money. I was somebody who had a mistake, and they helped me out.
So I want you to tell the story about the day that wig was supposed to arrive, and you
Okay.
went.
So the wig, do me a favor, Randy, tag my sister on your post because she can't get in. She's died. But anyway, the wig came from Vancouver, and I had to run an errand. It was coming in on Friday before the coronation, and I lived on 30th, on Monroe, off of 33rd, and I went to go to the store for something, like a minute, and in that minute that I was gone, the UPS guy came and took the hair. They weren't going to drop it off, and they left me a note, and said that it was coming back on Monday. Well, that won't work. Coronation's tomorrow. So I called them up, and I pleaded on the phone, and they're like, we can't. It won't be back to the distribution center until late tonight, and we won't be able to get it for you until earliest Monday. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's a presentation for a business, and blah, blah, blah. I lied through my teeth. And the girl finally, she understood how important it was to me, and she started whispering on the phone. She said, 33rd Adams. And she started giving me all the streets that this driver would drop off packages on. And I started writing all these streets down, and we got back in the car, and we started riding all over that area, and we found the driver, and I got the wig.
Girl, that story.
It was drama.
So that night went on, and you ended up being elected Empress. I'm going to go ahead and pop up a picture of you and your lovely Emperor Randy.
Oh, you talking about me?
That picture was taken at Los Angeles coronation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember. I definitely remember that.
I just gotten back from Hawaii. See how dark I am?
Hey, you was tapped the gods.
Yeah.
So,
And Randy, I lucked out. Randy was one of the most handsome emperors ever.
right. I also wanted to tell you, the reigning Empress here said, Pepper wanted us to tell you hello.
Hello, Your Majesty.
See, she's online right now watching the show. So,
Hi, Your Majesty.
So now you have been Empress, and one of the things that you had, real quick, we'll touch on this, is you worked for the Hyatt, and the Hyatt was one of your biggest supporters during your reign.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. I had a very dear friend who was the general manager there, Mr. Alan Randall. Unfortunately, Mr. Randall's passed away. But when I decided to run for Empress, I knew that it was going to require a lot of time. And I didn't want them to think that I was not trying to fulfill my duties at work through the travel, because I had intended to travel to the coronation. So I scheduled a meeting with him, and we talked, and he told me. I told him all about the Imperial Court. I told him what they did. I went in very prepared, and I told him the organizations that we had donated to and things like that. And he came forward and said, "You get comp rooms as part of your benefits package for being an employee here." He goes, "What I'm going to do for you is every time you travel representing San Diego as the Empress, we're not going to count those travel days nor those travel rooms against you, and we're going to still comp them in order for you to fulfill your duties as Empress." And it was a huge gift. It was huge. I mean, it enabled Vancouver, New York, Dallas. I mean, like everywhere I went, everything was free because Mr. Randall had made that promise to me. He was a great man.
Cool. So, how was your relationship with your Emperor Randy, when you guys were
It was
together?
it was great. You know, I wish that we would have known each other beforehand, because we actually got to know each other during our reign.
Mhm.
We were two strangers when it all transpired, but we never had conflict. Um, we we worked well together. It was good. I think it was good. I hope he feels the same way.
Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, now you being brand new to being Empress, and Randy being new to being an Emperor, Randy's partner, Brittany, had already been an Empress.
Yes.
How was it having her thinking, was she coming in to say, okay, you guys need to do this and do that? Or did she let you guys just soar and help you guys? How did that relationship work?
We were very, very lucky. We had very, very good guides and how do you say it? They just helped us a lot. Brittany could have certainly taken the reins, and like I tell you, we didn't know what we were doing at the beginning, and we didn't know each other. So it could have very easily fallen on Brittany, and she could have had her way with us, and she didn't. Instead, she guided us, and I have to thank her a lot, because of the fact that instead of doing what everybody thought she would do, she stood back, and she was a mentor to us, as well as John Laird, Aaron Borovoy, Morgana was unbelievable. Not only with me, but with Randy, John Winkleman, and Vera. They all stood by us, and they protected us from the outside entities that tried to divide us. They guided us and made sure that we were doing the right thing. It was good. It was all good. I have nothing but good to say about Brittany. We've always been friends. We'll always be friends. And I couldn't thank her enough for not only her support, but her guidance.
So, once you completed your training, once you stepped down, do you know that you had got involved with Ordinary Miracles Party Plan? Can you explain to us what was that all about, and your main role you were doing?
Well, during our reign, we had the opportunity, like all of you all do as emperors and empresses, to go to events throughout the year. And one of the events that we got to go to was the opening night party for Ordinary Miracles. It was held at the at the Holiday Inn Bay Shore, like right there on Pacific Coast Highway. Big Mike and Nigel had just started, but it was done really I don't want to say poorly, it just wasn't organized well. They, they, they had organized all these restaurants to drop things off, but they didn't have any representation. So they kind of dropped everything off on tables, and nobody brought forks, and nobody brought knives, and nobody brought spoons, and the hotel wasn't supplying that stuff, and all of that's, it was not organized well. So I told Big Mike one day when we were at Rich's at that corner bar where we discussed Gold Star Queens, that as soon as my reign with the Imperial Court was over, that I would help him with that party. And I kept my promise. And the year afterwards, the next 3 years, I produced the opening party for Ordinary Miracles, which, by the way, we won the Nikki for Best Event 3 years in a row.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, Ordinary Miracles. I remember Ordinary Miracles. You guys raised a whole lot of money. We'll just say
We
that.
sure did. I want to say over 300, maybe $300,000 or $400,000 in the 3 years that I was with them. Yeah.
Right. So you were with the Hyatt for 11 years.
Yeah.
You decided to leave the Hyatt in 2001, and decided to move somewhere. Where was that?
Palm Springs, California.
She was becoming a California girl. She was going through all the rounds in California.
Girl, I was going to make a stop everywhere I could, Miss Randy. So I have a friend, a very dear friend. He's one of my best friends in the world, Rick Ford, who owned All Worlds, and he had just purchased an adult, all-male, clothing optional resort in Palm Springs, California, called the All Worlds Resort. And Mr. Ford called me one day and said, "What are you doing today?" And I said, "Nothing." And he says, "We're going to take a day trip." And I said, "Okay." And he rolled up in his Rolls Royce. Actually, it was a Bentley then. And we went to Palm Springs. And he took me to this place. And I was like, "Cool, okay." He goes, "I just bought this." And he said, "Do you want to come work?" And I said, "Sure. We're going to renovate the whole place from top to bottom." Well, I went back to the hotel. And in that 2-week period of time, he purchased 3 other resorts and combined them all into one big one. And I went to Palm Springs to go and run the All Worlds Resort. And I stayed there during their revamping and renovation. We had 3 pools, we had a sauna, and 3 jacuzzis, and lots of boys.
All right.
Why don't you tell us what Sundays were like?
We were not very popular in the resort business because Mr. Ford had that entity of All Worlds behind him. So we had a party on Sundays, every Sunday. And every Sunday, we had all of the stars of All Worlds walking around in their birthday suits with trays and popsicles. And we had a DJ, Corey D, who owns Pride Nation Network, and he played, and we did hamburgers on the grill outside, and we would attract sometimes 300 or 400 or 500 boys, and clothing optional, and the party was on, baby. And then at 5 o'clock, everything would mellow out. The hamburger guy would go away, the popsicle guys would disappear, and the DJ would bring it down, and then we would film a movie. And I'm not talking Disney.
What kind of movies? I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Lord.
And, I told Regina yesterday that Mr. Ford always had a saying, there's only 2 things that you should never see being made. One of them is sausage, and the other one is porn.
Yes.
But we had really great big parties. Shishi LaRue used to come down there and host parties on special weekends. Ophelia used to come down there and do her that show that she used to do at the Hole. She used to come and do it. Yeah, she used to come and do the Wet and Wild. It was crazy. We used to get nuts. And the neighbors finally put a stop to it because couldn't find parking. You couldn't find parking. They'd come park 5 blocks away in Palm Springs.
Wow, it was bad.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was a good time.
So how long did you last working there at All Worlds?
I was there probably about a year and a half.
Okay.
And I couldn't stand it. I could miss San Diego so much. And by that time, the renovations were almost complete. And so my work was kind of done there, and so I moved back to San Diego.
And what did you do once you got here?
I started bartending at the Brass Rail, and I started like on Monday nights because they had darts or something like that. Monday and Tuesday because they were the slow days, and Hal put me on the bar on Fridays, which was brown sugar nights. And girl, it was packed on Friday nights, honey.
Right, it was.
And it was real funny. There used to be this really handsome bartender there who was straight, straight. Anyway, at the beginning of the shift, I asked him, are we going to split tips? And Hal, I don't know if you guys remember Mother Hal, but Hal was sitting at the bar. And I said, are we going to split tips? And he turned around and looked at me and he said, no, we're not splitting tips. And Hal turned around and looked at me and goes, are you sure you know who that is? He goes, I'm sure. I'm not splitting tips. There used to be a bar back there. And I told him, his name was, I can't remember. I'll remember in a little while. But I told him, look, we're going to work, honey. We're going to work real hard. You're going to do exactly what I tell you. And we're going to put out the drinks. I'm a fast bartender. So he did. He did what I asked him to. And girl, we were rolling in the dollars. And at the end of the night, that kid wanted to split tips with me. And I was like, no, we're not splitting tips. You said that we weren't. You learned real quick, honey.
He saw that money. All of a sudden, you want to change things, huh?
Yeah, honey. No, it did not work for him.
Now, how long were you working at the Brass Rail?
I worked at the Brass Rail probably a year, and I was working at Ono Sushi as well.
Oh, okay.
I was hosting at Ono Sushi.
Okay.
And then at Ono Sushi, the general manager was a guy named Gary, and Gary suddenly got ill, and his illness continued to get worse. And as it got worse, my position, they asked me to do more. And so I started opening and closing. And then when Gary couldn't come to work anymore, I was approached by the ownership of Ono Sushi and asked to manage. And I took over Ono Sushi. And I was at Ono Sushi probably 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
I remember Ono Sushi was a fun place.
Yeah. Honey, it was full of hot boys all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went from now I'm trying to remember the order here. So you went from working at Ono Sushi to going to Old Town Mexican Cafe, right?
I did. And actually so I was working at Brass Rail and Ono Sushi, and then I left the Brass Rail. And then I was still at Ono Sushi, and Kiki and the girls used to come in on Sundays for sushi after brunch, after gospel brunch. And at first, Miss Kiki was kind of hostile towards me because she didn't know me. And then we started getting along real good. And then Lips moved from the location on 5th to the location on El Cajon. And when they moved over there, Kiki told me, excuse me, sorry, I want you to come work with me on Wednesday nights for Bitchy Bingo. And I was like, are you serious? And she goes, yeah, I want you to work Bitchy Bingo with me on Wednesdays. And so I started working at Lips in San Diego and Ono Sushi. I was managing Ono Sushi. And I was off Tuesdays and Wednesdays I worked at Lips as the hostess for Bitchy Bingo. And I was there for 7 years.
So since we're talking Lips, I found a cute little picture from your night of hosting at Lips, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that up on the screen.
All
Oh
right.
my God. Wait, I gotta put my glasses on because I don't know who's there. Oh, I thought that was yeah, that's, I don't know. I can't see when you made it small. But yeah, I had a great time at Lips.
So
I
I
had a
think
great time.
Paris.
Paris, Gina, Paris and Gina and Kiki and I were the main ones that worked on Wednesdays. And Marissa used to come in and help us out when we were like busier. But I got to work with all the girls because of the fact that if Judy was away, sometimes they would let me host like on the weekends. And I got to host a couple of Sunday brunches. And I eventually, after leaving Old Town Mexican Cafe, just started working at Lips. And at Lips, I was what Judy referred to as the door whore.
So why don't we talk about your wanting to get Lips out there and you wanting Lips to do something in the community and get them more involved?
Thank you. So one day I went to go see Brent, who was the general manager at Lips, and I talked to him and told him that I kind of felt that there was a lot of stuff going on around us, and we weren't as involved as I personally like to be, and I'd like to use the venue as for an event, for a fundraiser. And we talked about it, and he said it was a great idea, and that we'd look. He said, "Do you have somebody in mind?" And I said, "Not yet," but he had agreed that it was a good idea. So that happened to be on a Wednesday when I went to go talk to him. So I went downstairs, I got ready for the show, and at the beginning of my show, I always opened with a number, and then I touched tables so that I could find out who had birthdays, what people were celebrating, what brought them there that day, and so I ran into a table, and it was a bunch of ladies, and I asked them, "What are you guys celebrating?" And they said it was Ladies' Night, and I said, "Oh, that's cool. So are you all friends?" Or I was trying to get more information, and they said, "Yeah, we're all friends." And I said, "Well, what's the string? What do you have in common? What's going on?" And they said, "We all have children on the spectrum." And I was like, "The spectrum?" And they were like, "All our kids have, not all our kids, all of us have children with autism." And it was like, wow, this is weird. I just talked to Brent right now about this, and you're here. And I told them, "I don't want you to leave after the show tonight. I want to talk to you." And that opened a door for me to start raising money for the San Diego Autism Society. Those ladies are actually personal friends: Sherry, Carrie, Mara, Shirley Fett, Dee Dee, all of those ladies. And we got together and we talked about how we were going to develop this event and how we were going to market it. And we ended up doing a show called Glam Fest, where we had celebrity lookalikes. We sold tickets that were regular price. We got people to come in and cater. So really, Lips didn't have to bear the brunt of the expense, but they did make profits because they kept all the bar. The food was sponsored by somebody else. We had auction items, and then the cover charge was taken by the beneficiaries, which was the Autism Society. And we did that 3 or 4 times. In fact, I think, Regina, you were a guest at one of my events as Adele.
Yeah, I was.
And also, you did a dog show too, which I went to. It was amazing. The dogs with the drag queens. Oh my God, that event was spectacular.
That was for the Animal Planet. Yeah, the Animal Planet approached Trudy, and we had a fashion show, a doggy and drag fashion show, where we had to wear our dresses, and then they dyed the dogs based on our dresses, and then we came out with the dogs. In fact, this is funny. Years and years later, when I got back and moved back to El Paso, I ran into somebody at work and they were like, did you do a show on the Animal Planet? And I was like, oh, yeah. Were you in a rainbow colored dress? And I was like, yep.
They clocked you, honey.
And of course, it had to be like the most homophobic guy in the whole damn place that was the one that found it.
Wow.
So your time at Lips wore down because you, in October of 2013, you got a call from your sister.
Well, it was kind of a combination of calls and visits that every time I'd come back, I kept seeing my dad like older and older and older, and my sister and I had been talking, and he was in his 80s at that time, late 70s, early 80s, and he was a handful, and I was kind of ready. I talked about coming home, but that was really the catalyst of everything, is to come help my sister take care of dad.
All right, so we're going to stop that right there. We're going to go ahead and take one more last commercial break for the show and come back and talk about you moving back and then what's been going on with you now. So we will be right back.
All right.
Welcome to Red Wing Bar and Grill, located in the heart of North Park in San Diego. Established for more than 50 years, Red Wing Bar and Grill has recently grown to become a favorite neighborhood bar and hotspot. At Red Wing Bar and Grill, there's a little something for everyone. You can join us for a game of pool or darts, buzz time trivia, live hosted trivia, or for some of the best karaoke in town 6 nights a week. We feature all major sporting events on our 9 flat-screen TVs, both inside and out. We are well equipped with 2 full-service bars and a large outdoor smoking patio staffed with friendly bartenders in a relaxed, laid-back atmosphere. Our menu features a variety of bar fare, such as our signature Red Wing Burger, our signature Pucker Up Hot Dog, great appetizers, and much more. We strive to create fun, delicious items using high-quality ingredients. Our grill is open till midnight every night and 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Red Wing Bar and Grill is your local neighborhood bar. You can never go wrong with the drink specials, and there's always something happening every day of the week. Stop by and check us out.
And welcome back, everybody. We are back here. We are still here live. I just want to remind you guys that Red Wing has opened. We are going to be open Wednesday through Sunday, starting at 3 o'clock, and 3 to 9. And then on Friday and Saturdays, we're going to be going from 2 to 1 or 2 to 2. And you can come sit down, dine in. We'll have a DJ. It'll just be a nice little way for us to get back into the world of business. We also would like to remind you that if you'd like to donate, at the bottom of the screen, you can go to the imperialcourtsandiego.com and donate. And what can you donate?
You could donate $1, $5, $10, $100 if you want to. If you want to be that generous, we appreciate that, honey.
So let's go ahead and bring back for the final leg of our show here today, our very special guest, the one and the only, FiFi.
Well, hello, welcome back, darling.
Hi.
We wanted to let you know that Nicole says she so much misses your enchiladas.
She's had plenty of them.
So we are on the last leg.
Let me tell you something about that.
Okay.
And this refers back to our reign. Whenever we wanted to get something done, I would tell Randy, I'm going to cook, and then we'll invite her over. So I would cook a fabulous meal, and then we'd bring her over and we'd feed her, and then we'd ask for the favor, and then she usually obliged because we'd fed her. So if you ever want to get something done, Randy, cook.
All right. I'm gonna take it to a soul food. Oh no, I'm not gonna cook. I'll take it to the soul food restaurant.
Yeah, girl, because if Randy cooks, you ain't getting back up. It's more Mark. Mark's more the cook. Okay,
Oh,
so you're back in El Paso.
yes.
And what is the first thing you do once you get back to El Paso?
I went to Whataburger.
I'm gonna be honest, Whataburger is the bomb. I love Whataburger.
Yeah, Whataburger and Chico's Tacos here. And then I got here in November of 2013, and I kind of chilled for a little while. I didn't want to jump right back into work. I applied at 3 jobs during that time. But during that time, you're in the full swing of the holidays. So everybody's like already too busy. Their crews, especially in my industry, which is food and beverage, they're in full swing. Really, nobody wants you at that time. So I chilled December, January, and February. I finally I gotta get a job. And I went to a place where I used to work, Billy Cruz, that I mentioned earlier. And I went in on February the 12th to go ask Billy, hey, I need a job. I need to work. And they were in a panic because they had like 300 reservations for Valentine's Day. And he said, go get some black pants, some black shoes, and a tie and a black vest, and you're going to wait tables on Valentine's Day. And I was like, I don't want to wait tables. And he's like, that's what you're going to do. So I did. And I made a fortune.
Well, you gotta make that money, honey.
Yeah. And then I had applied at 3 places, only 3 places. I had made up my mind that I wasn't going to apply blindly and that I was only going to apply at places that I wanted to work. So I applied at the El Paso Country Club, at the Coronado Country Club, and at the El Paso Convention Center. And I got called from all 3 back. And I interviewed at all 3 back and decided to go with the convention center. And I stayed at the convention center until this past, until last October. I finally left there.
Oh, okay.
So you get back to El Paso. It's 2013. Yeah. Time goes on. You start working. You have a great job. And say about 2015, you started not feeling so well.
Yeah, I started slowing down. There was obviously something wrong, and I didn't know what it was. But I don't know if anybody knows this, but I'm Latino, and I speak Spanish.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Don't make me mad at the grocery store. I'll cuss you out in Spanish.
Okay. Come on, bring it back.
And I just was. It was like I was like a lot of shortness of breath and a lot of fatigue. I just didn't feel good. But like all Latinos, we don't go to the doctor until we're almost dead. Well, no truer words were ever said. About a year after that, my office at the convention center was not even 10 feet from the men's bathroom. And I got up from my desk and I went next door to the bathroom. And I came back in and I had 2 girls that were my captains, CJ and Anna. And I put my hands on my desk and I said, something's wrong. I can't, I'm sick. I know I'm sick. And they were like, immediately, let's go to the hospital. And I was like, I still got to order linen. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Again, that Latino, I'm not going because I'm not dead yet. I stayed for a couple of hours at work. And I came home, I called my sister Sandy, who you met earlier. And I told her, I said, I'm home from work. And she goes, what are you doing at home so early? And I said, I don't feel good. I said, can you go to the restaurant up the street and get me some soup? And the Jewish community calls matzo ball soup their Jewish penicillin, and Latinos eat caldo. So I told her, go get me a caldo, and she did, and she came home, and also part of the story is I've been sleeping in a chair for like a year because I couldn't lay down, and I couldn't figure that out either. So she came home and I was too tired to eat the soup. Well, the next day she took over. Sandy, my sister, she took over and she said, we're going to the doctor. We're going today. And you don't have a choice in the matter. Get your ass in the shower and let's go to the doctor. Yeah. The lesbian construction worker came out of her and girl, she wasn't taking no for an answer. So I took a shower. It took me a really long time to get ready. I walked down the 3 front stairs of my house. She was driving my car. I got in the car. And when I woke up, there were ambulances all around and a fire truck. Apparently I'd passed out in the car. They rushed me in an ambulance to the hospital. And they did tests on me all day long. And I got there at about 11 o'clock in the morning. I finally got checked into a hospital room about 7 p.m. And the girl goes, are you okay? And I was like, I'm hungry. I've been here all damn day. Nobody's offered me a Coke, nothing. And I'm hungry. And she went and got some Jell-O and a ham sandwich and some juice or something like that. And I had something to eat. And then I woke up 7 days later and I was intubated. And
I remember, like I told you during the pre-interview, I said, girl, there must have been something in that Jell-O, honey.
I'll tell you what. There must have been something in that Jell-O. But I woke up 7 days later and I was intubated. I was very, very ill. It turned out to be that I had pulmonary embolisms, which are blood clots. They form in the legs. The blood clots loosen up in your veins and they start traveling. Mine traveled into the lungs. I'm lucky. I'm lucky because they say only 1 in 10 people survive what happened to me. They could go as far as the heart, and if they go as far as the heart, you're pretty much dead. I spent 6 months in the hospital, and I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my sister Sandy.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't be here.
She acted real quick.
Yeah. Well, I probably should have gone a lot sooner, but she's the one that finally put her foot down and said, we're going, and you don't have a choice. And it's really hard to boss me around.
Well,
I'm a real bitch.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So after when you were in the hospital and you got released and you were for the year, you decided to come back to San Diego and go on stage. Honey, I was there. You did your thing.
Okay, well, that was a funny booking, Randy, because what happened was I promised my sister when I was in the hospital that when I got better that we were going to go and she was going to, because she was so mega impressed with the outpouring of love that came from San Diego, of all the people that responded to her and sent flowers and letters and called her, and it was just an outpouring of love. She's like, Fernie, like everybody in the world from San Diego's calling. I was like, that's my family. That's totally my family. So I promised her in the hospital that when I got out, I was going to take her with me. I was going to take her to Vegas because she wanted to go to Vegas, and that's where this wig is from. My friend Kenneth Blake, fabulous impersonator, designer, did. But plug for Kenneth Blake. And I took her to San Diego, and that's where she met all of you. But I called actually my wonderful friends Rob and Scott, and I asked for a table. I was calling for reservations for a table, and Rob was like, "A table, bitch? You're gonna be in the show?" And I was like, "The show?" I was like, "Okay, sure." So I said, "You know what? I need to discuss this with my sister because 3 months ago I was laying in a bed.
Yeah.
I couldn't even walk, and you want me to do a show. I said, I need to talk to her. And when I talked to Sandy, she was like, yeah, go ahead, do the show. So we packed the car and we left, and I went to go do my thing in San Diego. And quite honestly, that's really the only place I feel at home on stage anymore is in San Diego.
No.
I don't do shows.
Well, let's go ahead and we're gonna throw this up. It's you
Yes.
at Rich's.
Yes.
And
That was the night.
yeah, and you killed it. We were all there.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yes.
show.
It was so much fun. And I can't thank Rob and Scott enough for not only having faith in me, but for making me feel alive again, because you have no idea how much I love doing this. And I kind of thought when I went through that it was pretty much over, as far as the performing was concerned. They brought me back to life, really. And I am forever indebted to them. I am grateful beyond words.
Well, girl, you always know that you're welcome here to do a show. You know that.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to my San Diego family.
Yes.
So grateful.
So, FiFi, how has life been during quarantine for you, love?
I've been stuck in the house with my two sisters. And I'm going to tell you something. It's really not bad at all. There's so many people in the world that are not as lucky as me, that don't have family around them because of who they are and what they are. And I'm very, very lucky that love comes first. I've gotten a lot of things done in this house. Unfortunately, that I told you coming home in 2013 to help take care of my dad. My dad just passed away in December, the 20th of December. And so my dad was very set in his ways. He was 85 years old. And he had collected things, lots and lots of things. And everything at that age, I don't know why, was a treasure to him. Newspapers, magazines, articles. We found out that he was terribly addicted to Bradford Exchange. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like Girl, I cleaned out the garage during this quarantine, and I have found things that are still wrapped in boxes that he never even opened from Bradford Exchange. And I'm not talking a few things, I'm talking like a lot of things. But he had the house completely stuffed. So during this quarantine, we have painted and redone the living room and the dining room. We've uncluttered the house. We're starting on the patio. We re-roofed the house. We have put up curtain rods and curtains, and so it's been very productive. I think a lot of people have spent their time, not everybody, but some people have spent their time not. If I had my ways, I'd be rich and stay home and do projects all day. I'm like the guy for it, And so this has given me the opportunity to do all those things, and it's really nice because the house looks great, and I like doing it.
I want to have to send some Converse so you can sell them to the guards for my Converse, honey. I'll mail it to you, honey.
Okay.
Well, all right, FiFi, we have got to the end. One of the things that we love to do as the last part of our show is what's called Picture Association. So we're gonna pop up some pictures, and all we want you to do is tell us who's in them with you or of them, and where the picture was taken, and what the person in the picture means to you.
I'm gonna have to put on my glasses probably, okay?
That's fine, go ahead.
All right.
So here's the first one.
Oh, That's my best friend, Jeff. She's also known as Princess Siren. She's a crown princess. And Jeff actually lived in Austin, lived in El Paso, then moved to Austin, and then moved to San Diego. And he actually still lives in San Diego. Wonderful, wonderful guy. And he's a hairdresser, stylist there in San Diego.
Okay. Now here we go. Oh, did you have
Yeah. So Queen Mother wants to know if you still rhinestone shoes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so here's the next one.
That is the ultra hot chocolate, Larry Edwards. He's been a friend of mine for over 40 years. He was a headliner in Las Vegas forever and ever and ever. He is the VIP host at Piranha Nightclub, and we are the best of friends. I couldn't, if you ask me who my drag idol is, that's who it is, Larry Edwards.
Nice.
He was part of the Fabulous Four in Houston at the Copa for years and years and years. He's a former Miss Gay Texas, a former Miss Gay Florida, and a former Miss Gay America.
All right.
Wow. And
That's just three titles. He's got more. Entertainer of the Year for Texas. Anyway.
Because of you, I had the pleasure of meeting him in Las Vegas. So
He's an amazing human being.
yeah. All right. Here's one more.
Big Fish Mama Gigi. That is at the Empress's Tea,
Yes,
which I attended just recently, and it was the last trip that I was there. I can't even begin to tell you how emotionally fulfilling that day was. A group of human beings of all cultures, of all races, of all ages, coming together to discuss not only situations that they can make themselves better in, but their community in, which makes me so proud to be part of the College of Monarchs and part of San Diego history, because things like this are, to me, are priceless,
yes.
completely priceless.
Right. We have 2 more pictures to go, and then we're all done.
I'll tell you a funny story about that picture. That Rolls Royce in the background. That's the trip that I took my sister Sandy on. And we were going to go to Mr. A's to visit my friend, Chef Stefan Voigtswinkler, who is the executive chef at Mr. A's. And this Rolls Royce pulled up, and my sister goes, we were waiting in the lobby, and I said, she goes, wow, look at that car. And I said, wouldn't it be nice to go to brunch and something like that? And she said, God, I've never been in a Rolls Royce. And just then Mr. Ford comes out, and I said, let's go ask him if we can have a ride. And so we walked outside, and she's like, are you crazy? Have you she hadn't met Mr. Ford at that time. She knew of him, but she had never met him. And I said, let's go outside. Let's see if he'll give us a ride. So we went out there, and Mr. Ford played along. And I said, come on. He said, yes, let's get in the car. And he took us to brunch. Actually, he took us to lunch at Mr. A's, which Stefan completely prepared a special meal for us, for the three of us that day. It was awesome. And that's Rick Ford, one of my best friends in the world.
Now, when did you finally let her in on that it was a joke?
Well, when she got in, you know, she was like, oh my God. And I said, Sandy, this is Mr. Ford. And she was like, oh, okay.
She was like, oh, you crazy bitch.
Yeah.
All right.
It was great.
Here is the last picture that we are throwing up on the screen.
Oh my goodness.
Aww.
That's my two sisters. The one with the glasses on is Deneen. She's the youngest. And the one on the right is Sandy. She's the oldest. And I'm the prettiest in the middle. And consequently, there's some other pictures that go with that. But this was the last time that we all, as a family, joined together and took pictures of my father. That's at Memorial Park here in El Paso.
Okay.
And that was here. I did that. We took those pictures when I was an out-of-town guest at a show here. I was still living in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a lovely picture. I do love that one.
Regina, can you give me a second? I want to give a shout out because I know that my sister Harley's watching and my nephew Derek's watching and my sister Deneen is watching. Not everybody was able to connect, but I just want to thank all of you all for tuning in. I want to tell you how honored I am that you guys chose me because I watch your show all the time. And it warms my heart that San Diego still remembers me because that's where my heart is.
Yeah, I have to tell you a couple of things. I know I've known you way longer than Randy has, so my memories are a little different. So I want to throw up just one picture that I feel that absolute class, absolute poise, the Empress that I will always remember, the person I will always remember, and that's you. And this is one of my all-time favorite pictures of you.
Yeah.
That was the night after I won. And the only thing wrong with that picture, and you're right, it is a good picture. But the only thing wrong with that picture, do you know what it is?
Your hair's down.
What?
Your hair's down.
No, the hell with the hair, girl. Please, the hair's flowing. There's a cocktail in my hand.
Yeah. Where's the scepter at,
And I
dog?
always tell queens, don't ever take a picture with a cocktail in your hand because you never know if it's going to be flawless and then you're going to look like an old drunk.
Well,
so cheers. Here's to the old drunk.
Okay, so I'm going to let Randy say a couple of last words, and then I'll say mine, and then we'll go ahead and get on out of here.
Okay, I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fifi. I just want to let you know, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We learned so much history from you, and I just want to tell you from the bottom of the heart, from me and my Empress Pepper Diamond, thank you for being who you are. I might not tell you all the time, I love you with all my heart. You are a true role model, and I love you, too.
Yes. Thank you. And if there's anything that I can do for you during your reign, please don't hesitate to call.
Yeah. So one more time, I want to reiterate that we are very grateful and that you decided to come on our show today. I know I've told you this before, and I don't think I say it enough. You, and when I'm saying this, I'm saying it to you. You are the reason I stayed in the court. When I walked in almost 20-something years ago and went to that first coronation, and you were one of the nicest people to me, and that's what made me stay. And I have been involved ever since. So I just wanted to tell you that I love you, and you paved the way for a lot of empresses that have came after you, and we just want to know that you're loved and you're always welcome here in San Diego, and you know it.
Yes.
So
thank you very much.
Yes.
Y'all are gonna make me cry, and I put on all this food to make me run.
Honey, it's okay.
So with that being said, we are going to go ahead and say goodbye. We hope you have a great rest of your day. We're going to have a great rest of our day here. Tell your sister we said hi and thanks for coming on camera with us. And
she's right here.
Oh,
she's right here. Say bye to her.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Yes. All right, Fifi. We will talk to you and we'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.
I love you guys. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
You too. All right, everybody. That was a great show. So I just want to say thank you, Fifi, so much for being on our show today. And we just want to remind everyone, please tune in. We have our next show on Monday, the 14th. Please tune in. We will have our flyer.
15th.
Is it? Yeah, the 15th.
Yeah.
The 15th. I don't know my days. They're all going into one. And we will go ahead and have the advertisements out here sometime today for all of that. Also, you can join me and my daughter Kixie, Fa King, Vancy Vega, Nadia Simone, and all of us for Bubbles for Breakfast virtual tomorrow on Facebook. You can just go on Kixie Vixen Styles Facebook and it'll be there virtual streaming live. All right, you guys, this has been It's Sweet Tea Time. We're going to have fun. We're going to finish off our cocktails and we're going to have a good rest of our day. Bye.
Bye.